Look at the last interface Claude Code built for you. It works, it's clean, and there's a good chance it has a soft cream background, a big serif headline, and a rust orange button, because that is what AI design falls back to when nobody stops it. A lot of people noticed that same feeling and went looking for the same fix. Over 1 million of them installed it. It is now the single most installed Claude Code plugin in Anthropic's directory. One file, one command, and its entire job is to stop Claude from designing like an AI. That plugin is number one on the list I'm about to walk you through. And I didn't rank this list. Anthropic's own install data did. So here's what you're getting. The 10 most installed Claude Code plugins on Earth, in order, with the real install counts. What each one actually does. Running on my machine, on screen, not read of a README. What each one costs you in context, measured, not guessed. The one in the top 10 that installs perfectly and then silently fails until you set a single environment variable. And the exact 4 I'd install tonight if I could only pick 4. First, where this ranking comes from. Because it's the whole reason this list is different. Claude Code has a plugin marketplace built in. You open it by typing /plugin. Today, it holds more than 270 plugins. And the browser prints something most people scroll straight past. An install count next to every single one. Those counts come from a statistics file that Anthropic publishes, and Claude Code quietly downloads. The copy I pulled today was generated on July 6 with install numbers current to July 3rd. So this is not my opinion of the best 10. It's the 10 that the most people are actually running. And you can open the exact same screen and check every number I'm about to say. Number 1. Front-end-design by Anthropic. 1,017,000 installs. 100,000 ahead of second place. It installs one skill and nothing else. Now, here's the part nobody mentions. I opened the skill file and read it. It does not say make it pretty. It names the 3 specific looks that AI keeps producing. The cream page with a serif headline and a terracotta accent. The near black page with one acid green accent. And the newspaper layout with hairline rules and square corners. And it tells Claude those are defaults, not decisions. And to stop reaching for them unless you actually asked for one. Then it gives Claude a process. Choose the palette and the type first. Criticize that plan and only then write code. That is why 1 million people installed it. It fixes the thing you can see but can't quite name. Number 2. Superpowers. 913,000 installs. And it is the only plugin in this entire top 10 that Anthropic did not write. It's the open source work of a developer named Jesse Vincent, who goes by Obra on GitHub under an MIT license. One install gives Claude 14 skills at once. Brainstorming, writing plans, executing plans, test-driven development, systematic debugging, running subagents, requesting and receiving code review, and my favorite, verification before completion, which is the skill that stops Claude from telling you it's done before it has checked. This is the heaviest thing on the list. I'll give you the exact cost later, because it's the one where the cost is worth talking about. Number 3. Code review by Anthropic. 404,000 installs. You hand it a pull request. What happens next? I read straight out of the command file. First, it sends one small cheap model to decide whether the pull request even deserves a review. Closed, draft, trivial, already reviewed. It stops there. If it passes, it launches 5 reviewers in parallel. One checks the change against your claude.md rules. One reads only the diff, hunting real bugs. One reads the Git history of those exact lines. One goes and reads the comments people left on earlier pull requests that touched the same files, and one checks whether the change respects the comments already in the code. Then every finding it produced gets scored 0 to 100 for confidence, and anything under 80 is deleted before you ever see it. That last step is the actual product. It was built to not waste your time. Number 4, Context 7 from Upstash. 392,000 installs. This one isn't a skill, it's a server, and it solves a specific, familiar failure. When Claude writes code against a library, it's writing from memory, and memory has a cutoff date. Context 7 goes and fetches the real current documentation for the exact version you're on, straight from the source repository, and puts it in front of Claude before it writes a line. If you have ever watched perfect looking code fail because a function was renamed 2 releases ago, this is the plugin that ends that. Number 5, Skill Creator by Anthropic. 347,000 installs. And it is the fastest riser on this whole list. Back in March, this same machine cached an older copy of that same statistics file. Skill Creator had 19,000 installs then. Today, 347,000. It's the skill that writes skills. But the reason it climbed isn't that it drafts one, it's that it tests one. It writes the skill, generates test prompts, runs them, scores the results, shows you the numbers, and rewrites. You end up with a skill you can prove works instead of a text file you hope works. Quick pause. We're halfway. 5 down, 5 to go. If you now know which of these deserves space in your setup and which one fails silently, that was the job. Everything here gets installed and run on a real machine before I say a word about it. If that's worth something to you, here's how you back it. On YouTube, hit join and become a member. On Facebook, subscribe is the supporter button. That's the one that keeps this running. A free subscribe helps too. Now, the second half, the real cost of all 10, and your setup. Number 6, code-simplifier by Anthropic. 325,000 installs. It's an agent and it runs on Opus. I pointed it at one messy checkout file. It removed a nested ternary, split one long function into a subtotal and a discount, and gave a magic number a name. Fine, expected. Then it did something I did not ask for. My project file claimed that npm test runs the test suite. There is no test suite. It said so plainly, instead of quietly moving on. And then, to prove it hadn't changed behavior anyway, it built its own comparison harness and ran 20,023 cases against the original function. Identical output on every single one. It refused to say the word done without evidence. Number 7. GitHub, GitHub's own server. 297,000 installs. Issues, pull requests, reviews, repository search, all from inside your terminal. And this is the one with the trap. It talks to GitHub over HTTP using a token. And it reads that token from an environment variable called GitHub underscore personal underscore access underscore token. If that variable isn't set, the plugin still installs perfectly. It reports no error. It just quietly never connects. On my machine, typing /mcp shows it in one line. Context 7 connected. Playwright connected. GitHub failed. Set the variable, restart Claude Code, and it works. Nobody tells you that part. Number 8. Playwright from Microsoft. 293,000 installs. This one hands Claude a real browser. 24 tools on my machine. It can open a page, click things, fill forms, read what's actually rendered, and take a screenshot. Which means Claude can check its own front-end work instead of assuming it worked. Put this next to number 1 and the loop closes. It designs the page, Then it opens the page and looks at what it built. Number 9, claude-md-management by Anthropic. 264,000 installs. Your claude.md file is what Claude reads before every single session. And it starts going stale the moment your code moves. You just watch that happen. My file promised a test suite that doesn't exist. This plugin gives you two tools: a skill that audits that file against the codebase as it exists right now and tells you which lines are no longer true, and a command /revise claude-md that you run at the end of a session to write down what that session just taught it. That second one is the habit that compounds. Number 10, Feature Dev by Anthropic. 242,000 installs. One command, backed by 3 agents. One explores your code base. One designs the architecture. One reviews the result. But the reason people keep it installed is the very first phase. Before it writes anything, it asks you questions. Every ambiguity, every edge case, out loud, upfront, and it waits for your answers. If you have ever watched Claude confidently build the wrong feature for 20 minutes, this is the plugin that makes it stop and ask first. Now the question almost nobody answers. What do these actually cost you? Every plugin adds text to your context before you type a word, and Claude Code will tell you exactly how much. The command is Claude plugin details, then the plugin name. Here is what I measured across all 10. Front-end design, about 60 tokens, always on. Code review, 13. Code-simplifier, 47. Skill creator, 87. The claude.md plugin, 116. Feature dev, 194. Superpowers, the heavy one, 584. And the 3 servers, Context 7, GitHub, and Playwright, 0. Because their tools only load when something calls them. Add all 10 together, and you land at roughly 1,100 tokens. That is the honest answer. The standing cost of all 10 is almost nothing. The cost that actually matters is different. And it's the one people miss. It's what a skill pulls in the moment it fires. Superpowers subagent skill. About 6,900 tokens each time it triggers. Its skill writing skill 6,500. Skill creator 8,200. So the rule is simple, and it's the opposite of what people assume. Installing is cheap. Install freely. Triggering is what costs. Know which of your skills are expensive, and don't be surprised when the heavy ones fire. One warning before you install anything, and it isn't mine. It's printed on Claude Code's own install screen. Quote, Anthropic does not control what MCP servers, files, or other software are included in plugins and cannot verify that they will work as intended or that they won't change. Being listed in the directory is not an endorsement. 9 of these 10 come from Anthropic, GitHub, Microsoft, or Upstash. The 10th is one developer's open source project, and it's genuinely good. But read what you install. And notice, the install screen offers you 3 choices. Just you, everywhere, everyone on this repository, or just you, and only in this repository. If your team should have it, pick the repository option. Here's your setup, and it takes about 4 minutes. To browse, open Claude Code, type /plugin, choose Discover. That's the full list in install order with the counts. To install from your shell, it's one line. Claude, space, plugin, space, install, then the plugin name, then at Claude Plugins Official. If you only install 4 tonight, make it these. Front-end design, if you ship anything anyone looks at. Context 7, if you use libraries that changed this year, which is all of them. Code review, if another human ever reads your code. And claude-md-management, if you've ever had to explain your own project to Claude twice. Then restart Claude Code because plugins load when a session starts, not in the middle of one. And before you add anything beyond those four, run Claude plugin details on it first and look at the number. I put all of this on one page. The ranked 10 with exact install counts, the measured token cost of every one of them, the 4 plugin starter set, the install and removal commands, and the GitHub token fix so you don't lose an evening to it. Comment the word POWERUP, one word, and my bot sends it straight to you. Free, as always. Real talk. 90% of you watching haven't subscribed. On Facebook, subscribe is the supporter button. That is what keeps the lights on here. On YouTube, it's free and it tells the algorithm to send you more. Subscribe to support us. And if you're just getting started with Claude Code, my step-by-step beginner guides are linked below. Here's what actually changes tonight. Claude Code out of the box is a strong generalist with no opinions. Every one of these 10 is somebody's hard-won judgment. How to review code properly, how to design something that doesn't look generated, how to avoid building the wrong thing, compressed into a single install command. You're not adding features. You're borrowing the taste of people who already solved it, for free, in about 4 minutes. Comment POWERUP for the one-page kit. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram as Hyper Automation Labs. See you in the next one.